1-inch screen. And how about America and democracy? There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today. What do you think?
We forgot a few of them. Forgot a lot of them. But then this was TV from 1973. My guest today, Richard Maruya, the inventor of a new refrigerant. That's the liquid/gas that goes inside of your cooling system for your air conditioning in your automobile, for an example. And he's invented a better one, better for the environment. You use less of it, takes an immensely greater or less of a strain on the engine, therefore increasing engine mileage if you want to look at it from the car sense. Again, Rich, thank you for coming in and here, Mr. Maruya.
Thank you.
Before we get back to your story, I've got to go here. Bird flu concerns, public health specialists, wildebeest virus, lobster return. What does that all have to do with each other? How about this? Ill effects of Gulf oil spill found in key marine prey. The animals are simply not hatching. They're talking about this little fish. It's called killifish. And this is the prey to which all the other fish higher on the food chain eat. It's a canary in a coal mine. These guys don't move around that much. Anyway, all the fish are screwed up because of the oil spill that was done in the Gulf. What am I trying to get to here, folks? The canary in the coal mine. You start messing around with nature enough, you start pumping all this CO2 in the atmosphere, and the canaries start singing, ladies and gentlemen. And it's all well and good to be in America and have the you know what hit the fan, but you wait and see what our brothers in the third world are all going to be starving to death as they try to get away from whatever disaster occurs due to climate change. And then that, of course, sends this huge burden on the country next door to it, and their infrastructure can't keep up with it. Next thing you know, guys come in and foment a war. Okay? Here's one before I get back to Richard. And again, this is just amazing. As you know, Richard, I'm running for governor. I'm going to get an exemption to the Jones Act. And the Jones Act provides many benefits to U.S. This is a letter of the editor from, well, no surprise, the president of Marine Engineers Beneficial Association of Washington, D.C. In other words, the cohorts that have got us yoked with Matson as our only one source of blah blah, and they won't let anybody come in here and bring us any competition to provide us with up to, we're paying anywhere from 30 to 35, according to most estimates, % more for our goods because of this Jones Act. And here's why. The maritime industry was recently forced to defend the Jones Act. Well, that's the one, by the way, Richard, they took down for Hurricane whatchamacallit on the East Coast because they couldn't get gas to the gas pumps in time and it cost too much and they were fighting. So Obama suspended the Jones Act and got it taken care of in a heartbeat. Anyway, this is the Jones Act ensures that the U.S. Coast Guard vets all mariners operating vessels along our coast. Now that's just a bunch of garbage. Every boat gets to come from everywhere in the world and stop once. They don't get quote-unquote vetted. It guarantees our country a base of skilled merchant mariners prepared to sail aboard vessels that carry military cargo. The last 2 wars, they didn't use a single one of them. Regular and reliable service. Yeah, it is regular and reliable, and it's also sticking it to us at 30 to 35% more because we have no, whatchamacallit? The shipbuilding industry is destroyed. It's time, by the way, what does this guy say? Takes place on U.S.-owned, U.S.-built, U.S.-crewed vessels flying the stars and stripes. You know, it's the first sign of fascism, this type of behavior. You pull out the stars and stripes when you want to sell something. It's time to support pro-job policies and stop attacking merchant marine. That is disgusting. That is just disgusting. I got that off my chest. Back to you, Richard. Now, you heard that little intro. There are no countries, there are no nations, there's only corporations, okay? I'm kind of curious to know what your experience has been to bring your new product to market. Who is the person, where do you call when you've got a better refrigerant? Who do you go to first? Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call if you want to bring it to market?
You can try all the manufacturers that probably won't even look at you, but you can try them first.
Okay, so who for
Appliance
instance,
manufacturers or automobile manufacturers.
wouldn't you need EPA clearance before you could even sell it to those people?
You have to get what they call an EPA. For a flammable refrigerant, you need an EPA application complete. They call it a SNAP, S-N-A-P, program where you submit all your information about your product, the risk assessment, poultry analysis, and all of that. And you submit it to the EPA, and they look it over and they tell you if that is satisfactory. And they'll give you a completed application on this. And then you, after that letter, then you're allowed to approach companies to see if they're interested in using your product. Prior to that, companies would normally say that we need this on the Federal Register because we need to know the final rules, because it is a flammable refrigerant. Unlike how much refrigerant can be used, like in a household refrigerator. EPA put it up that you can only use 57 grams in a household refrigerator. That's about 2 ounces.
Let's bring it into context, and I could imagine this comes down to the very issue where some guy's house catches on fire, and they can't have somebody loading up an appliance with some majorly combustible fuel of too much amounts, correct?
That's correct. Like you take a 21 cubic foot refrigerator freezer. EPA says maximum is 57 grams. With my 441A, I'm able to get it down to about 37 to 40 grams, doing the same type of performance. That's why I created the multi-blend, to bring the charge rate down lower than that. Companies are now pushing to try to get it up beyond 100 grams.
I mean, they want to get the regulation pushed up instead of lower the product.
That's correct, because a single blend right now will go beyond that. They need it at least about 75 to 100 grams to make it
Efficient.
for them.
Yeah, because it's cheap, I presume.
Well, no, not really. They want it that way because they can use regular propane, or they can use R600 is propane isobutane, or
Right.
isobutane by itself.
Gotcha.
But the problem you have with that is EPA came up with a rule that beyond that they can consider a flammability issue here, especially in a 100 square foot kitchen. But the way you have to look at this is, with about 47 grams, a big lighter in your pocket has more than that.
I gotcha.
So with my 441A, it's a lot.
So it should have been a slam dunk. You went to the EPA, you wrote them a letter, you showed them what you had. It was safer, it was better, it was more efficient, more cost effective, more ecological, and so they gave you your permit to go sell it, correct?
It took me about 3.5 years.
And so right now you are 3.5 years. Is that untoward? I mean, what is that the normal length of time it takes?
No, you see, EPA gave me 3.5 years of heartache, and here comes GE, and in less than 16 months they get a completed application for isobutane, but they can't get the charge rate down below 57 grams. So now they're pushing the EPA to increase that.
Okay, so yours was already within EPA rulings.
Oh, yes, yes.
And so why would you, maybe you were just bad at filling out the paperwork. Why did it take you so long?
That's a good question.
Okay, tell me. What do you think?
My thinking is that, you see, I'm just an average individual coming in. You got a company like GE come in with a lot of people behind them, or you get Unilever, same principle. You're talking about corporations that are large with a lot of people. Just like when you go in for an ASHRAE safety listing, only companies go in. An individual like myself got both of my refrigerants cleared and safety listed with ASHRAE. That's why I have R441A as a designated number for one of my refrigerants, and R443A as another one. Most times it's companies that get these things done, never an individual.
Would they be happy to see you come in and go, oh, look who's here, oh, this is cute, look at him. He's not a company, he's cute, oh. Or will they look at you and say, hey, stand at the end of the line, fill this out. If you don't know how to fill it out anyway. Do they babysit you when you come in and or do they just ignore you?
No, they ignore you. They want to have you go away.
Now, when you say they,
There's a lot of questions that the EPA will ask.
go ahead.
They would try to discourage you. They would ask you questions like, what is the percentage of the market that you intend to have your product sell?
Go ahead.
And they will ask you questions like, what is the market share that you would be looking for?
Why do they care?
That's the kind of questions they ask.
And so then you answer, well, I want to sell one to everybody. I want to saturate the market.
Something like that. And
Is
they
that
get
the
very
wrong answer?
upset. That's the wrong answer.
What's the right answer?
The right answer is you have to give them in a nice scale amount of what you presume business projection is. Real college boy stuff. Business 101.
I got you. It's like, here's what's going to happen in the next 5 years. I'm going to start
This
in
is
this
what it's
state.
gonna be.
We are then going to, it's a business plan.
Right, sort of like a business plan, and that's what they look for. Like in a lot of my refrigerants, when I did applications, let's say for the motor vehicle, they were always concerned about fire, flammability issue in the passenger compartment. So myself and another individual named George Whitmire, we developed a safety valve where it's run on pressure. If in case there's a leak in the system, the valve would step in, shut it down, so there would be no more that leaked into the passenger compartment. But everybody knows that no air conditioner just bursts out and leaks into a passenger compartment. It's usually a very small leak over a period of maybe 3 weeks to a month. But that valve, after the pressure goes below 70 pounds PSI, the valve would shut, so no more refrigerant would get in. EPA told me this is a very good idea. We don't endorse this. We don't want to know about this. This is what the industry would have to accept. But we want to know, how fast does it take for the valve to close?
Oh, God.
How much does the valve cost? What is the reliability of this valve? Please run a test to show us how the flow rate is.
So they're sitting back there drinking a cup of coffee, trying to figure out a way to throw a wrench into your machine. Is that what you suspect?
Yes, and they even give you questions like, we need to know that you contact DOT, Department of Transportation, to find out this form number so-and-so. What is their issue on using a flammable refrigerant in a refrigerated transport? Those are the kind of questions they give you. Then when you contact DOT, they'll say, what is EPA wanting to know what we do?
think.
Yeah. who are they? But this is how our government works. The left don't tell the right, and EPA thinks they have the power.
Are you, okay, now, when I read your article in the newspaper, bless their heart, I got the idea that you had been pretty much stonewalled by the EPA in America, and that had forced you to look to other markets, and it was something like, hey, if you guys don't want this, I'm forced to go over to Asia and / Japan and start putting this thing to market. What can you say about that?
Well, I had no choice because Japan came out now with a new law that they're gonna ban any type of F-gases, that bother the ozone, or any type of appliance, even in automobiles. Now, they came up with this legislation, and it just passed through. And I was in Japan, and I'm the only one that brought my product in that was ASHRAE approved, EPA certified.
And already qualified by their new standards?
Yes, they have the High Pressure Gas Association there that looked at it and said, yes, this is the one. And I told them, and as I described it to them, my product is not high pressure.
Right.
It's low pressure. It's medium pressure.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
One of them.
So what they told me was that since it's ozone friendly and everything else, that they're going to pass this legislation to make sure that none of this bad refrigerants coming to Japan. The next thing is I was in Yokohama and I was sitting down with a taxi cab owner, and he wanted me to try it in an electric automobile because he only had so much to go around. When they have a taxi, they have to run back to have the battery charge.
Right. That's
So-
a good little test case, right?
Right. So I tried it out first on one and saw how it was. The driver told me he could extend about 20% more without coming back to be recharged.
Mhm.
With the air conditioner on. But during the summer months is the most critical time.
All right, how many cars are driving around right now with your concoction inside the refrigerant?
Here or where?
Here,
Here? Probably about a dozen, just
and
the
then,
cars
and
that I
then
know.
where else? Is there any, have you been loading this up in Asia, Japan yet?
I've been pushing it out in Japan.
How many cars are driving around with your refrigerant in it, as you say?
Right now, we're waiting for the legislation and a couple of air conditioned manufacturers for automobiles. One of them is discussing this with me on possibly bringing this in. A 1234YF, which is a DuPont one, Honeywell DuPont one, which was cleared after me for automobiles, but they've found that the price was just outrageous.
Yeah,
And for my refrigerant, I set up someone, Komatsukawa Sanso, in Japan to blend my product for me.
hey,
And they already tried out both of them, my 443 and my 441A. I'm going to put the 441A in another group of taxis to run during the summer months in Japan.
let me ask you, would it be illegal for you to retrofit anybody else's car here in Hawaii right now? Technically, is that illegal?
Well, you see, the part is, if you don't have a completed application, this is the situation. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. That means I could put it in, you know, you'd run around with it. They could, someone could get into an accident, and they could always turn around and blame the refrigerant.
So that means you're not gonna let me drive over to your house tomorrow and you're gonna jack my car up and make me get 20% better fuel mileage, is that correct? Since I always have my air conditioner on.
Well, that's the way life is, isn't it? Until I get it clear.
I'm gonna do one more traffic outbreak. Hey, listen, do you hear what I'm telling you right now? You hear it here on my show. I got a guy, his phone number is, and this guy can give you 20% better gas mileage simply by changing your refrigerant, unless of course you keep your windows down all the time to save money on your gas, which costs an arm and a leg. This is beautiful stuff. You're gonna change the world.
No, I'm not going to change the world because the world is not ready to be changed.
Now that is the crux of it, Mr. Beal. Okay? So I'm going to go for a real short traffic update. We're going to hear what's happening out there just in case it'll surprise you. And it's brought to you by people such as the Research Corporation of the University of Hawaii. Thank you. Kosi Island Earth. Young Brothers Barge, aloha. Blue Planet Foundation, aloha. IES solar installations. DR Horton, I mentioned them. Go check out Ialoha Molokai if I were you. That's a grassroots organization. Ialoha Molokai for every island, for every continent. BenQ Solar, and of course, Hague's Tax Service. I'll be back in just a second. More to this interesting journey that our brother Richard Maruya has been having to push through the red tape and everything for an invention you pulled out. And of course, your new PhD book coming out. You know, you're lucky you didn't get this forced psychiatric treatment thing. If they had passed this bill a while ago, somebody might have tried to call them on you. Yeah, crazy bugger. You're not a chemist, but yet you're concocting refrigerants to revolutionize automobile air conditioning. You gotta love that. Aloha. Let me see.